Hey guys, welcome to this week. This video is specifically dealing with chapter 3 and chapter 4, which is word choices, and really beginning that writing process. Specifically for our homework this week, I had given you guys some phrases. It's exercise 1, very basic phrases, and I asked you guys to give 2 synonyms that could represent that phrase, or basically how to dress it up. And synonyms are a wonderful way to do that. Synonyms actually can play a couple different roles. One, it increases your vocabulary, gives you better ways of saying things, makes connections. So I always look at synonyms, is there a better way to do this? Or is there a better way to word this in order to get the impact that I am seeking from my reader? The other benefit of knowing synonyms is definitions, actually. Sometimes when we look up a definition, I've read some and I'm like, I really don't even understand what they're trying to say, but I can go to my synonyms and I can make connections through my synonyms. I'm like, sometimes it defines the word a little bit better for me, actually. So to me, it gives you a couple different options in which to do that. At the end of the day, it's about how we're communicating to our reader, and what are the tools that we can use in order to facilitate that. And for me, synonyms are like juicy words. Why say big when you could say enormous? Why say walk when you could say saunter? Why say friendly if you could say amiable? And like I said, I call these juicy words because they're interesting. They sound really neat. They actually soften the vernacular a little bit. So it just gives you some different choices. And there's a lot of different synonyms. You will be surprised as you really start looking at this. You'll see that there's a lot of words that mean basically the same way. A couple things I want you to keep in mind, though. When you're choosing a synonym, you want to choose one based on what's going to be best for the context of what you're trying to communicate. So like this week, your number 1 is very big idea. And the first thing that comes to mind, very big, enormous, large. Even large isn't very juicy. So to me, I would like table that. Enormous, okay, we're going to, but would I say, oh, that's an enormous idea? Or would I say that's a revolutionary idea? Is that an impactful idea? What am I trying to get across? And that's, so I want you to kind of think about, what are you trying to communicate? And what are the best word choices for that? Be really careful to not, with some of these, use great, very, big. Those are actually our crutch words. Verbally, I can say them. And they're okay, and that's all right. But written, when you're reading it, it doesn't translate as impactful as it is when I'm saying. Because remember, when we're verbally communicating, we have a lot of different things that are working for us. We have our facial expressions, our hand movements. You can hear the timbre of my voice. Am I excited? Am I serious? Or whatever that. So we have all these different things that are helping to communicate a certain message verbally. Whereas when you're writing, you just have the words. And so you're creating that tone, you're creating that dynamic, you're creating that energy through the words that you're using in order to communicate effectively. And a part of that is, what are you trying to communicate? What's the context of the words that you're using? And are you using them correctly to make maximum impact? And I like to say that too, because it just sounds really cool, maximum impact. So as you're going through this, I really encourage you to challenge yourself to really expand, get outside the comfort zone, kind of play around with it. I love words. Got great words. So why don't we use them? So this week, I definitely want you to kind of look into that. Synonyms I probably use more than antonyms, just to make sure. Synonyms, that they're words that mean the same, sound differently. Antonyms are the opposite. So if I say tall, the antonym is short. Do I use this as much? Probably not, but it's always good to know, because you got to have the yin and yang of things. The other piece that's going to be helpful, especially when we're writing, because you have your first writing assignment this week, is homonyms. And this is an area that really gives a hiccup for most people. It's not that you don't know them. You can read through them and you know all the definitions. The thing is that when we're writing, and especially when we're trying to get all of our ideas down, sometimes we're not in that revising mode or that editing mode, because we've got to get what we need out of our head onto paper. But it becomes very important to go back and edit. mainly because you can spell it right, but WordCheck is not going to catch if you're using it incorrectly. So if I was trying to say, their situation where there's ownership, but I said THERE, which is a direction, it's not communicating what I'm trying to say. And again, anyone who's written, they know that sometimes just the wrong thing comes out because you're in a hurry and you're trying to get your thoughts out. But it becomes even more important for us to go back and edit our work, proofread it. I cannot stress enough, reading your word out loud exactly the way that you have it written. Honestly, this is one of those areas that you will catch if you do that. Get up, walk away, come back, read it again. That will help pick those errors up. So definitely kind of read through those. The ones that I have listed, I think I see more often, the there, and there, which and which, WHICH, as in a comparison, which one, or WITCH, which is like a the lady at Halloween. So, and they're not the same thing, but I've seen those intertwined. Again, it's not that you don't know the meanings. I know you know that. But what it is that we need to be purposeful with slowing down and making sure that we are reading them correctly, using the correct one. One that I don't think I have on here, our and R, A-R-E and O-U-R, they sound similar. Not the same thing. Our, O-U-R, is possession of a group's possession. A-R-E, are you going? It's a helping verb. Okay. So again, it's really more to be mindful and to be purposeful with what we're trying to say. So the list that I've given you this week is not an all-inclusive list. Like I said, these are just ones that I see on a regular basis. These are errors that I make. Again, the reason I'm bringing it to your attention is it's just something that can happen. But we just have to be more purposeful with it. With anything, and a lot of you have communicated from the beginning of the semester, one of your goals through doing this class is expanding your vocabulary, and these tools actually help, especially synonyms. That is really going to expand your vocabulary. Another practice will be reading. And I've given you a list of some books, and some authors rather, that you could look at. They cover so many different genres. Some are, romance, some are dystopian, some are mystery. Sir Arthur Conan Doyle, love him. Satirical, if you like satire, like especially government satire, Mark Twain's your guy. If you like romance with witty banter, Jane Austen, totally my girl. So there's a lot of different things in here. Dystopian, Ray Bradbury. Fahrenheit 451, one of my absolute faves. So it just gives you some options to look at. Langston Hughes, love him. Short stories. F. Scott Fitzgerald, Great Gatsby, great novel. If you're wanting to get some insight into the 1920s, and not just always that glim and glitter, but it kind of goes underneath the surface and kind of shows you the underbelly of what's under the glamour. So it's like a really cool thing. Dean Koontz, if you like this, he scares the fool out of me sometimes. James Patterson, right up there. Stephen King is good. He's just too freaky for me. He really creeps me out. George Orwell, he's dystopian, 1984. Again, that one, if you like dystopian, if you like that. But this is just a little list. Obviously, there's so many more authors that are out there. I personally like historical novels for a couple reasons. One's because they use the really cool, juicy words, and they know how to use them and beautifully. The only thing I would encourage is if you like history. I love historical novels, one, because I feel like I'm getting a snapshot into the past, especially if it was written by someone living there during that time period, like Jane Austen. She's going through the social norms, and it kind of gives you this sense of what was this life like. Charles Dickens, he's a little bit darker, and he kind of gives the not as glamorous view of that time period. But again, there's so much to be learned from that. like I said, one thing I would encourage, if you're going to read if you want to get the most out of a historical novel, you need to do a little history. Make sure that you are reading it in the context in which the era that it was written. If you try to read something that is historical with a 21st century viewpoint, it's going to be confusing and you're going to miss the beauty of it. But again, I do like those historical novels, especially that are written during the time period that it is talking about, because the vocabulary and how they phrase things is just beautiful. And we just, again, have such an amazing language, so many things to choose from. The exercises that we're doing this week in this chapter really just touches the surface of it. Main purpose, like I'm doing with everything, is that I want us to look at our writing more purposeful and really thinking about how do we want to communicate ourselves? How do we want to be represented through our writing by utilizing some of these tools? So I hope that this was helpful to you to help clarify as you're getting your homework done. Please come to class if you have questions. And we're going to have those class discussions because I'm sure we're going to have different ideas, and I like to hear all of that. And it really, your classmates benefit from that greatly. So I'll see you guys in class, and I hope you have a fantastic evening.